YouTube, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Chelsea. This is the Odyssey with Chelsea, and what's good? Go ahead, like, share, comment, and ring that bell to subscribe. Again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to tune in to me and to see what I have to say. So today's title is called, as you already saw, The Devil Wants My Soul. So I was like, what you talking about? This is a story time. So I guess I'll start with a little background about me. Of course, my name is Chelsea. I am now 30 years old. I am a wife and the mother of 3 beautiful children, aged 10, 1, and 2 currently. I've been through a lot in this life. You know, we'll get into some testimonies at another time. I don't think God has quite called me to do that just yet, but I got some testimonies, y'all. And I've been through some things. I've saw some things. I've done some things. I've conquered some things, and I'm still conquering some things, and I'm so very, very grateful. So with that being said, like I said, I guess let's go a little deeper into the background. So I am a PK kid, if you don't know what that is, or I'm a PK if you don't know that about me, whether you've known me or again you're new here. So what's a PK if you don't know? A PK is a preacher's kid. I am a preacher's kid. I grew up in the church. I grew up with a pretty religious background, not too crazy, but I did grow up pretty religious, going to church. Of course, being young, you're not really knowing God for yourself, but you knowing you're supposed to go to church. They teach you right from wrong, and they teach you about Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus and whatnot. I mostly went to church with my grandmother on my mom's side. That's who I would be with, during the summer times and vacations from school, like Christmas break or whatever. I would be mostly with my grandmother, and she would take me to, like I said, vacation Bible school. We would go to church most Sundays. I was with her, etc. Now my dad, I keep it simple. He wasn't very responsible. He was not always a preacher. I think he was a preacher more so when I got grown, when I was a young adult. But I didn't see a lot of him growing up, but he did have a pretty religious background. My grandfather preached, and my dad, he was in church. So when I would see him, like, there was a no question asked. I can't even think of one time when I was with him that we didn't attend church. Like I said, no matter how often I saw him, when I was with him that weekend, you can guarantee on a Sunday morning we was at church. So I had a lot of church in my life, a lot of religion in my life. I remember one Sunday, or I remember Sundays after going to church with my dad, because I'm a talker, and my dad is too. And so he always had to be one of the last people out after church. Like, he had to talk to everybody. I guess he would be talking to the reverend sometimes, but he had to talk to everybody. That's what I know. And he had to be one of the last ones left. So me and my brother, or brothers at the time, we would go back in the main hall of the church, and we would play on the instruments. And sometimes I would go up there and pretend to preach. I would open the Bible and read what it said. I didn't know what I was reading, but I would read what it would say and pretend to be a preacher. And God said, I would get that tone and that rumble going. I would definitely get excited and whatnot, like the older preachers would do. I remember one particular Sunday, I believe my brother had my dad sit down, and they had me to reenact one Sunday. I guess I had been reading it and got that rumble going. And so, like I said, they had me reenact it or whatnot, and my daddy gonna take me over one of my grandmother's house, my great grandmother, and have me do a mini sermon for her. Now look, I done always been shy, so I'm like, now Daddy, why would you do that? I was like 10, if not a little younger. I was old enough to read, but definitely not really old enough, I guess, to me to really understand what I was reading or what was going on. I just remember, her kind of being up and down sick, and, hadn't been to church in a while. So Like I said, my dad took me over there and gonna have me read a passage for her and kind of give her a little mini sermon. Did it go well? I don't know. I feel like I remember her looking at me and my dad like, what y'all got going on here? Like, what's really going on? So, I do remember, though, enjoying it. It's crazy. I just like to do the rumble, and get it. I like to get the excitement going. So, I know I was different. I know I was called for different. I loved God. I didn't fully know what that looked like and what that meant, but I remember loving God and having a passion for certain aspects of going to church. Now, I didn't like staying too long, and once it was over, I was ready to go home. But I knew I was different, and like I said, I knew I had a different calling. I just didn't really know what that looked like at the time, and I still honestly don't fully know what that looks like. I do want to add this piece in there, maybe about around 2018-ish. Yeah, about 2018, I did do my first sermon as an adult at the time my dad's church. And again, I've always been pretty shy. I'm just now breaking out of some of that, and I still have quite a bit of breaking out to do. But I broke out of it a little bit, and he invited me to share a sermon that I had wrote. And it basically was about, I kind of, God opened me up and opened my eyes to what double-mindedness looks like and what that passage of double-mindedness, meant and means. And that's something that I still struggle with. I think we all technically struggle here and there with being double-minded, whether we want to call it spiritual warfare or whatnot. So that was, basically my first sermon. Through that, I was introduced to a prophetess that he knew, and she had me to come out and share some poetry, and to she was trying to help me get into what God has for me. She saw some things in me as well, and she wanted to help them come out. That ended up taking a pause, especially with the pandemic, and I ran into some church hurt, and I just kind of stopped going to church. Just more so, again, trying to focus on seeking Him for myself, and just trying to figure out like what's real, what's not, what's really going on in the world. But I remember around that time, and even till this day, around that time, I remember telling God, like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I do remember kind of fighting back and forth with him, telling him I don't really want to preach because I don't want to be looked at as I have to be perfect. Like, people do put preachers and pastors on this pedestal to think that they are exempt from sin or exempt from doing wrong, and that's not true. Now, I feel like they should be better examples, maybe, that they should mimic it a little more, but being a preacher does not mean you're perfect or you have it all together. What I do remember, again, at that time, and something that I tell God to this day is, I do want to share your word. So I'd rather be called an inspirational speaker or a motivational speaker, and just incorporate God's word, in the midst of it. Excuse me. Especially, like I said, that was definitely my attitude back in like 2018. Now, whatever He called me to be. If He called me to be an evangelist, a prophetess, a preacher, whatever He calls me to be, I'm cool with it. Right now, I'm in a phase where I do know that He wants me to share His word. He wants all of us to share His word. That's in the Bible. He wants all of us to share His word. So I'm not a self-proclaimed anything, but I am someone that loves God. I am someone that reads the Bible. I am someone that has a personal relationship with God. I do go to church. I do fellowship. I do enjoy that. I feel like that has its benefits, but I know God for myself. I have my own relationship. If I don't go to church, I'm still praying. I'm still writing out prayers. I'm still listening to different things. I'm still reading. I'm looking up some of those words in the dictionary and whatnot, trying to better understand what I'm reading, more than once or whatever. Just really trying to understand God and His word and His path and His will for my life. So that's where I currently am. I'm sorry, kind of deep. So I said all that to say that, you know, just as God calls us and recruits us, the enemy knows this, and he calls and he recruits as well. He recruits for his kingdom as well. That's why you see people out here losing their mind, people out here killing and doing all type of different things, you know. So to get to the point of the story, it's not a long story at all. When I was younger, I used to have these recurrent dreams, and it stood out to me at the time, but it didn't really stand out to me the way it has as I've gotten older. So in the dream, I could always remember being outside playing with my cousins or whatnot, and in the midst of the dream, or you know, being outside, being a kid, just playing around and running or whatever, all of a sudden it would get dark out of nowhere, and I would feel this presence, this heavy demonic or evil presence, and I never saw anything, but I would be chased. Like I would take off running. And I would look back, but I would never see anything, but I could feel it chasing me. And I had this dream for years, back to back to back to back. Now, as an adult, I don't remember having it as a teenager, really. And it was crazy because I started to get into some things. So, you know, as I'm older, I discerned that as, you know, the devil started to his work in me. Like my innocence, you know, started to fade. Like I said, started to get into things, sex, cursing, smoking weed, not really drinking, but here and there, you know, just different things that can open you up to different things. So I didn't have the dreams as much. As an adult, I remember maybe having it twice. And I think the first time I had it as an adult, it was like, wow, you know, I remember having this dream as a kid and I hadn't had it in a while. And it kind of played out the same way, the same exact way every time. We'll be outside, we'll be playing or talking or whatever I'm doing, and then out of nowhere it'll get dark. I just like I already knew what was going on, so I would start running for my life in fear, never seeing anything but feeling their presence and knowing that their presence was there. And I know one of the times that I had this dream that I can specifically remember, I was pregnant with my son, my second child. He's only 2 now. He'll be 3 next month. But I was pregnant with him. And it kind of bothered me so bad, like I said, because I hadn't really had it as an adult. That I remember calling my dad, and I remember calling one of my aunts and trying to see if they could help me to discern, you know, what's going on. Why am I having these dreams? Like what does this mean? Like I said, especially being pregnant with my son. And I have had something prophesied to me about my son, just as far as praying over him and making sure I'm speaking life and just being mindful of some things when it comes to my son. So I remember having that dream, and I remember that night it being really crazy because whether you believe me or not, I remember, like, you know, kind of coming out of the dream, and I remember feeling my bed shake, and I was the only one because my husband was in the bed with me, but I was the only one that felt the bed shake. And I just felt like, you know, I guess discerning and looking back that, again, the enemy he was proud. He was on the prowl. He had some intentions. And he still has some intentions. That's just who he is. But I'm one of God's. I'm one of his chosen. I've picked my side. Bad days, good days. I chose my side. I choose to be a follower of Christ. That's my decision. That's my discretion. I'm a believer. I don't like to consider myself religious, but spiritual. But I do believe in Jesus Christ, whether you want to call him Yahshua or Jesus. Hey, I grew up knowing Jesus. That's what I'm gonna stick with. Is if it's the same person, it's the same person. Then hey, you know, until God tells me something different, that's what I'm rolling with. So I just wanted to share my story because I know I'm not the only person that has weird stories or weird or unexplainable situations or happenings that they really haven't told anyone, or don't really don't share because they feel like people gonna think they crazy or brush it off or whatever it is. So my point of sharing this story is to say that God is real. The spiritual world is real. There is good and there is bad. No matter what you believe in, that's obviously very adamant. That's very clear that there is two different powers. But what you feed is what matters most. What you feed is what matters most. There's going to continue to be good and evil. It's going to be continue to be two sides. Choose your side. Choose your side wisely. But hey, it's worth it over here. I'm not here to force my beliefs on anybody. I am going to share his goodness, God's greatness. I am going to share the love of Jesus that flourishes from my heart. Look, whether you believe it or not, I posted a status the other day that was basically saying, even if you feel like it's just a story, well, the story of a God that sits high, looks low, such a great creation, such a powerful creator, for him to send his only begotten son to die for my sins, to be some redemption for me, to be here to cleanse, to help cleanse me out, clear me up, to love me despite any of my flaws, there's nothing I can do to make him dislove me. As long as I'm in a place where of a repentance and understanding and want to do and grow better, it's just gonna keep having me be blessed. But regardless, he loved me, and his goal for me is for me to prosper. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing to me. Like I said, whether you believe in it or not, that is amazing. And I'm not here to, like I said, I'm not here to force my beliefs. I'm just here to share my beliefs, why I believe certain things, and what redemption has looked like for me. I am excited. I really can't wait until God tells me, gives me the okay, you can go and share your testimony now. I feel like it'll be soon, at least some of my testimony. But baby, I'm talking about some tea. Do you hear me? Some tea as a PK. And y'all know what they say about PKs. Baby, some tea. I ain't gonna give y'all all the tea, but I'm gonna have to give y'all some tea one day, just again to be a testimony and a walking vessel of his glory, of how he can shift some things in your life if you allow him to, and how only he can do it. Like, these are not things that I could change or fix on my own. There's still some things that I'm struggling with today that I tell God, look, I can't do this by myself. I can't do this at all. If you don't do it, can't nobody do it, because Chelsea can't do it. So again, I know that story was pretty short. It's okay. I hope y'all get the point out of it. I know that the devil wanted my soul. He been wanting my soul since I was a little old thing, because he knew what God had for me. He knew how amazing I would be and how amazing I am. One of my, I'm gonna share this and I'm gonna let y'all go. One of my uncles shared something with me, how he wakes up, and I love it. It tickles me, but I love it. He said, when you wake up, you better start hollering. You better have the devil like, oh snap, she up again. And if she up, you better watch out. And he better watch out. Like I said, I'm not naive to the spiritual realm. I'm not naive that the enemy can attack you in any way, and you have to be covered in the full armor of God. You have to be on your P's and Q's, but I ain't gonna stay down, because I got a God that loves me. I got a God that protects me. I got a God that's gonna show up for me. I can be depressed, I could be anxious for a moment, for a day, but God is going to show up for me. He's going to redeem me. He's going to uplift me, and I'm gonna come back swinging every time. With that being said, y'all don't forget to like, share, comment, Ring that bell to subscribe. I love y'all. Until next time.
Oh yeah. Thought I was playing. Let go.